Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast. This is where you go to learn how to use pure motive service to create higher value to grow your results. And now, here is your host, America's service sales coach, Joe Crisara.
Welcome to the Service MVP Call-by-Call Masterclass, the future of service management. And this is presented by and powered by our partners at Rilla. And we are here today to make sure that we give you some good content so you can understand the future of service management and how the most efficient usage of call-by-call management should be done. My name is Joe Crisara, and I am with Service MVP. I've got 4 decades of coaching. We were doing call-by-call coaching and management since 2012, and recently have been updating ourselves to go into the modern era where we're able to partner with our partners at Rilla, with a guy like Arnav and Sebastian and all the Amir, if you know the people over there who have done such a great job to make sure that they are helping us to modernize this program. And Arnav, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Well, definitely, Arnav will have an integral part of this training here. So let's first of all, I'll go over how did we align. I know we have clients that use Rilla and clients that use Service MVP, and then we finally discovered that we have clients that use both of us. You want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about how Rilla and Service MVP got together?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you for having me on. We've been in contact with you, as we both know, for quite a long time, and there's been a lot of mutual benefit for a lot of our customers. And I think ironically, it's our customers that found you and I first before even we found each other.
I guess the contractors were smart enough to find both of us.
Yeah,
and we got to give them all the credit for this.
Absolutely.
Right?
So hats off to both of our customer bases. But I think there's a lot of mutual benefits for being a Service MVP customer as well as a Rilla customer. At a high level, we are the analytics software that will identify these skill gaps that your contractors may have when they run their appointments. And from our opinion, Service MVP is the organization that could come in and actually fill those gaps in with your guys' award-winning sales process and your coaching talents that you guys have. And so for us, I think it was a very natural partnership for us to spark up. And I'm just really excited to talk to you about what this actually looks like and how customers can benefit from our joint efforts.
And this might be the first time in history we actually sat in a studio and created a real visual behind all this stuff too. So you're not just going to see us talking on the screen. You're going to see actual using Rilla and Service MVP together and how those two things have merged. So stay with us. This is not just going to be a froofy sales webinar. This is something where we're going to give you information that you can use right now. If you have Service MVP, you can start to use Rilla. If you use Rilla, you can start to use Service MVP. If you use nobody, then you got access to some of the best tools that are in the industry right now. And we want to make sure that, if you wonder how some people are successful during these times where it's challenging, well, now you're going to find out. That's what we're going to be here to do. Let's first start out, though, with what we call the history of service management, which I think between the two of us, I would probably be more uniquely qualified than you.
Absolutely, right? Joe. Take it away. Take it away. Kick us off.
Because I've been around for over 4 decades. Since 1977, I've been in the service industry, and my father was in the industry before that. And so there was a time back in the days, back in the 70s and 80s, where they just used to give people a work order and say, here's your 4 service tickets, go out and do the job and then come back. And the only way they would be able to monitor the quality of the service technician was by callbacks. So you had to call back, then you knew your service tech needed help. There was no such thing as ride-alongs, either virtual or reality. It was just give them a service ticket and hope it all worked out good. Then we had the computerization of the industry in the late 80s and early 90s. We're able to give people 1 call at a time. So instead of giving them all the invoices or all the work orders, there was a best practice that was introduced by Nexstar and Frank Blau and a lot of George Brazil, people like that. Started doing a 1 call at a time format. So you would give the technician the illusion that, hey, we need to do the best service possible. Just focus on the 1 call you got and don't give the technician the whole schedule. And then he does the 1 call, or he or she does the 1 call. and then the coach would see it, and they would know the problems now, sort of more transparently, because instead of waiting for the work order to come back to them, you could see it online in the cloud. You could actually see the software in the cloud by doing it that way, right? And then moving into the 2000s, coaching got a little bit more sophisticated. This is where Service MVP and other organizations such as Nexstar and all the rest of them had started coaching people. So the coaching amounted to giving people one call at a time, and then the coach noticing a problem by looking at the software and saying, look, there's a weakness they have in the way they're diagnosing a problem, or the weakness in the way they present the problem. The presentation's poor, the pricing is wrong. And so they would have a coaching session the next day with the service technicians. Remember, you had one service manager with maybe as many as 5 to 20, 25 service technicians, and you couldn't scale it. So you could only have the meeting with the people who were the worst technicians who needed the most help. So now the poor service managers burdened with always talking to the weakest person every single day. So imagine having a job where you talk to the worst people on your team every day, and that was your job, and that's all you had. They're good people you never got a chance to talk to. You never had a chance to monitor what was working right, only what was working wrong, right? And then moving into the 2020s, we implemented call by call management at Service MVP. We used a lot of companies where they would, with technology, we'd say, hey, on the cell phone, use things like Slack, use things like FaceTime, video channels where we could actually see things and talk to the technician and kind of coach them before they were able to present solutions and present problems. And that leads us to where we're at right now in the year 2024 and going, I'd say since Rilla, when did Rilla come in place? What year was it? Was it created in?
Rilla's been around for about 3 to 4 years now, so we got to
Well, about
start.
2021, something like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
It's probably perfected about 22. I think I started hearing about it in 2020, early 2023,
Yeah,
when I really saw it being, and seriously, from the time I saw it in 2023
yeah.
to what you have now, it's like two different softwares. I
I
mean,
appreciate it. Yeah.
the amount of development that Rilla has put into it. How much development do you guys do in that software? I mean, seriously, that is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we have an engineering team. They're some of the most talented people across the globe that we brought into New York, and they're working every single day to make the software as incredible as it sounds like you've been able to experience it as. So,
Well, so now a service manager can use ServiceTitan or House Call Pro or use Job or any software, monitor the team in the middle of the call, suggest aspirational improvements to the team.
yeah,
So so the software and the coach is integral, but now Rilla gauges and scores the reality of what was done. Right?
exactly.
That makes sense there?
Yeah,
Which I really think creates the perfect solution.
yeah,
The coach has service MVP benchmarks and can load those benchmarks into Rilla,
yeah,
and then Rilla can tell you, coach, the reality within seconds. I mean, I'm not even talking about, you're going to see the demo of this, guys. So when you watch this, it's literally going to blow your mind if you haven't seen it before. But it can literally tell you each part of the call and where was the weakest or strongest part of the call,
yeah,
and drill down on that quickly. And within, I don't know, we found that our service MVP coaches are using Rilla now, both for our team and our clients. It's built right into our training now. We're finding our team can use it in about 3 minutes to coach the clients that we train. So we're the only company that actually train people using our videos and role playing and all that part of it there. But we also monitor our company, our attendees, our students who are contractors using Rilla, and every member feels attended to in this way of doing it. I mean, I'm so proud of the fact that we met each other.
yeah. Likewise, Joe.
Really, it's a perfect solution. I really think it is.
I feel the same way. So appreciate you and the team.
And I didn't get paid anything to say that. I really do
No, yeah.
believe it. The only thing I get paid for is the results that you contractors get, because that's the payment in my heart to see you succeed, avoiding all the pain and suffering that I went through back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
That's you can't pay enough money to make somebody feel good like that. That's one of the things I really believe in. So that's the history of service managers. So let's go ahead and ask a question right now. If you don't mind, Arnav is going to monitor the chat. In the chat, are you in the 70s where you give out work orders, or in the 80s where you're giving out virtual work orders? Are you in the 90s where you're giving one call at a time? In the 2000s where you're going to do the 2000 decade where you're going to give out, you're going to monitor, maybe coach your team after the call, maybe next morning? Or are you in the year 2020 1 to 24,
Mm.
where you're actually sending out an aspiration to your team before the call is presented, before the problems are presented, and before the solutions are presented, and also monitoring the reality to give them other suggested improvements so you can touch base before the next call. Remember, this is a full circle. We are aspirational what we want to do. We find out the reality and we check to make sure the reality, we coach on that reality before the next call is done. So this thing just keeps going and going and going. And truthfully, I don't know how anybody ever did it before we had these solutions. I mean, really, I think service managers were sitting in their office at a desk and just waiting for problems to happen. And I call arsonist firemen, always putting out fires that they created because they didn't have this kind of a technology. Well, where are people stuck? Are they in the 90s, in the
Yeah.
2000s, 2010s, or 2020s? Where are we at here, Arnav?
Joe, looks like we got a number of people that are still stuck in the 90s,
Oh
actually.
my goodness! I mean,
There's
I mean
still-
that's when the Red Hot Chili Peppers were we just got started. You know, for instance, I mean that's
Yeah.
a old band, and then you got I'm not even sure what was going on in the 90s, but was
I
it
like the
was it
Peppers,
was it Madonna?
I don't know.
It was the
You know?
80s more. I'm not even sure, but nonetheless, there's some good. Hey, there's some good things in the 80s,
Yeah.
but service management wasn't one of them. Okay, that's one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that we can improve the state of the service industry, and that's what we're here to do today. So today, what we're going to do is start up with the mid-call monitor. So first, the number one thing, this is called the ServiceTitan. This is going to be the Service MVP Masterclass for call by call. And the first element, there's really two elements to this thing. One is ServiceTitan and the ability to use it for a coach to use ServiceTitan to do mid-call monitoring. And the second element is the coach to use Rilla. So we want to make sure everybody understands Rilla and ServiceTitan or Service MVP are not here to replace the coach.
That's
We're
right.
we're to give the coach a better tool. Does that make
That's
sense here?
exactly right. Yeah.
So everybody's on the same page. This is not a seminar about the future where service management is dead. This is one where if service manager lives and he becomes an integral part of sharing the information with empathy, with care, respect, and support. This is the key thing. ServiceTitan, Service MVP, and Rilla have designed all of that into all three platforms. So your people are sure to get the best motivational message they can possibly get. So let's get started with this. Number one element to get started for a good call by call performance coach was going to make sure it's going to be mid call monitoring. So your service technician goes on a call, and the first thing you want to see within 45 minutes is this, which is the observations or the summary of findings on every call. Arnav, how important is it that that the problems are documented and explained to clients? What's the key component of that, do you feel?
Yeah, great question. I think that this is a critical component of every single appointment that's run, especially when you think about the amount and the complexity of the appointments that are run by each technician every single day, every single week. It becomes almost impossible from memory to be able to recall all those little details. And so I'd say, to your point, the observation form and these summaries are extremely important to ensure success in the long term, sustainably.
So this is where it's a perfect triangle here. We have ServiceTitan, which enables the service technician using a microphone to talk in these things. And Service MVP can create an observation form in ServiceTitan for you. So you'd have a pre-filled out form with everything you're looking for, including photographs and everything like that. And then you'd also have the solutions that ServiceTitan does, but you have Rilla as well to monitor what was the reality. Did the technician, like it's one thing to write these things down in ServiceTitan, and that is good. And you would think the technician, or you can assume the technician would say all these things.
Right.
He wrote them down, right?
Right.
But when you look at Rilla, how many times do you find that these observations or these problems
Yeah.
that consumers have are not communicated?
More times, unfortunately, than we would all probably like. And so it's really important on the Rilla side of things to be able to see the reality of what's going on in the actual appointments.
So companies that don't use Rilla are literally gaslighting themselves by only using ServiceTitan and saying, "Oh yeah, my guy wrote. He had to explain all this.
That's right.
He wrote it all down, right? Why would he write it down if he didn't explain it? We assume that people explained it, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the problem there. Because I always say this, and you know, an Uncle Joeism is assumptions are the graveyard of lost opportunity. So if we only did ServiceTitan and Service MVP, we would be very hopeful, and we would we'd have the seduction of potential. We'd see that this looks good, and this guy's almost got it. Look, he wrote it all down. It's perfect. Like it could be good. And you can see these two. One is the form we have, and the one on the right. And the one on the right is something that you just type in the summary in ServiceTitan. So those are two important elements. So what you can do as a coach, see this and observe it, and just question it with the service technician using your text, Slack. You can even text, I think, inside ServiceTitan and suggest improvements, or just text them on his phone, right? Or even call him, pick up the phone and call the technician and say, hey, you haven't addressed the customer element of this diagnosis. How are they? And you can see exercise 1 on the observation form. It has a good technical observation, but an observation 2 on the lower right, it has more of the people involvement. Like, what are the people doing? What are they going through? What's the personal impact of the client? And that's an important element there. So not only are you diagnosing the mechanical systems of whatever you're doing, and even on sales calls, you might say, well, we're a company that doesn't do diagnosis. We just do estimates, like on decks, or we might do remodeling or windows.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, guys. If you don't diagnose the old windows, or diagnose why people don't, what's the condition when people don't have a deck in their backyard, then there's no value to the solution. So this is an important, the number one important element is not the prices and all that part, because the prices are meaningless unless the observations are done the right way. And more importantly, Rilla can show you, explain the right way. That they explained it like we have written it here. Make sense there?
Yeah.
Whew, that's a lot to say right there. And
Yeah.
we could end the whole seminar right here, this webinar right here, and it would be enough value, I think. Because, like, wow, I got to get on that more. And I agree, you do. This is a thing that people, it's a blind spot that almost every service manager has. They just read it and they go through it and just assume it's being done, and it's not. And then on top of all that, you have these observations and problems. Then we move into the solutions, which are my next slide coming up right here. Next slide. As you can see, we teach at Service MVP the science of pricing and how to do premium, mid-range, and economy choices. You can see on the left-hand side, we have an example of a technician who had a beginner technician with 3 options, and it was pretty good. He wound up selling, I think, $3,200 on this call. And on the right-hand side, you can see he did 6 options, which we find the science of pricing. If you did 6 options, you're going to wind up doing about 200% more. And so he wound up selling $5,400 on this call on the right-hand side. So you can see if the solutions match up with the diagnosis. That's really the key here. So that's really what Service MVP and ServiceTitan, which is really a key element of it. Now you can use other softwares as well, but we just find ServiceTitan is uniquely qualified to do both the premium, mid-range, and economy templates. I talked to, I remember Ara and Vahe when 2012 when they developed this, and they said, "Can you get behind the software?" And I said, "Well, without having the estimate bundling part of the program, we can't get behind it." So they developed this part of it. And can I tell you a secret about this, Arnav?
Please let me know.
I'm not even supposed to say this. This is a secret that ServiceTitan told me.
Okay.
I'm not even going to say who told me,
Okay.
but they told me this. They said that this part of the program that we developed with ServiceTitan on this, they give them the suggestion to do this.
Yeah.
I remember it was Mario Camperano from Express Electrical here in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
who said we should talk to the ServiceTitan about this. So I remember I can construct a whole scenario that happened in 2012. And I said, Vahe, this is what we need to do. And he's like, oh, it's going to be hard to do it. I said, and you need to do it for me to support it. So they did it. Here's the ironic part, though. Most of the clients don't use this part of the program.
Okay.
They only use like a cash register. They get the prices and just show a single price, and then they have suggested other things down below, which doesn't work as good, right? So this works better to bundle and show the option from the best one that solves all the problems in the observation down to the cheapest one that only solves the main problem that we're having right now. So here's a secret that I was going to tell you.
Tell me.
Over 80% of the revenue in ServiceTitan is created by the 7% of the contractors who use this part of the program.
The Pareto.
So I would urge you to, number one, learn how to use the estimate bundling part of the program. Learn how to make a diagnostic observation form so you can use that when you're presenting to clients. And number 3, turn on your financing, because the financing part of it makes all these solutions affordable on a monthly payment. And that's an element there, right? Whew, that's a lot there. That's the mid call. Now we're going to give over to Arnav here, who's going to tell us about the Rilla element number 2 in the call by call masterclass, which is the Rilla post call closing. I'll give this clicker to you, and so you can.
Yeah.
I've done enough talking. I'm tired.
Absolutely. I can take it over from you,
You
Joe.
can take over from here. Yeah.
And thank you so much. I feel like that was just all the education that I even needed. Like you said, we could cut the webinar right here. But what I'd like to do
But
is
there's more.
But wait, there's more if you stick around. Absolutely. So what I'd like to do is I want to just first of all, introduce myself. I'm Arnav. I represent Rilla, and we're really excited to be a part of this webinar. And as Joe mentioned, there's the mid-call coaching, but there's also an element of the process that I think a lot of companies out there might be missing, and that's that post-call actual evaluation. As to your point, to see we might have trained them on service MVP, we might have had the context of what they could be doing in the home, but there's not really a way for us to know what exactly happened in the appointment after it was run.
May I say something now?
Absolutely, yes.
When we talk about our clients telling both of us about each other,
Yeah.
like how do we find each other? Our clients said you guys should be together on this, right?
Absolutely.
And so we did that. But here's what we did. What we've created this arrangement, this agreement we have to bring Rilla and Service MVP together. So now Rilla is hardwired into all of our coaching and training, and we monitor your team when we do that. And the reason we do this is this reason. Arnav is the Service MVP's liaison.
Yep.
So if we have a problem with Rilla, you go to Service MVP, we will get rapid response through Arnav, who will
Absolutely.
direct his team to fix the glitch or whatever's happening.
Absolutely.
And if we have a glitch in our coaching and people aren't getting service right, Arnav
right
is here
through.
to let us know.
Yeah.
So you as a consumer win, you the contractor win. So instead of having, well, you know what it's like to get service support on most tech gadgets. It's impossible. They don't give you a phone number or anything like that. Well, we give you access to everything, personal people who can help you.
Absolutely.
That's why I believe that this is a marriage made in heaven between Rilla and Service MVP, and nobody can try to describe anything other than that, because it's the service and communication between our two teams that make you the star as a contractor. That's all I have to say about that. Continue.
I love it. No, that's a great addition. And just to echo that, we feel the same way about you guys. And I think it's been really beneficial to have us in such close quarters, because there's a lot of overlap with what we both do. And I think having the comfort and the confidence that I can reach out to you at any point, or anyone on your team, and I can get an answer very quick for our customers means a lot to us. So
we feel the same way. We feel there's zero chance that we can't get up. I mean, it's instant response. We have so many group texts.
You can't get a hold of Joe, you're going to get a hold of me. And then
I can't even keep track of all the group texts we have together. It's amazing.
Absolutely. But no, thank you for that. And what I think would be a really great start for us is to really just give everyone here on the call an overview of what Rilla is for those of you that may not be familiar. And so at a high level, Rilla, we are the leading virtual ride-along software for the home services industry. And amongst all of our thousands of contractors that are using us every single day when they run appointments in the home, and the companies that we have around the country, the best way to describe really what Rilla does is to think about the analogy that we like to make here, which is that we see sales and sales teams around the country in the home services industry operating very similarly to highly competitive sports teams. And as you can imagine, Joe, just like any sports team you can think of, there's a couple of key components that lead to success. Number one component is that every single sports team, when you think about sales being a sport, has an amazing superstar coach. That's going to be a coach like you, Joe, any one of your service MVP coaches, right? They're responsible for setting the strategic direction of the company, providing that guidance and support to the contractors to make sure that they have all the learning and the training that they need. Superstar athletes in this metaphor here would be the actual contractors, the selling techs, the comfort advisors, the apprentices that are meeting customers in the home where they are every single day. And in the sports analogy, they are running those plays and they're out in the field. Now, this partnership, as we have both seen over the last couple of months, at least, between coaches and players is what leads to such great success. And for sports teams, that might mean winning championships, winning rings. What does that mean for sales teams across the country? That means
it means profit.
Profit.
It means profit and happy customers giving you 5-star reviews.
That's exactly right.
The championship is not just money. It's making a profitable call, getting a more permanent solution in somebody's home, and having 5-star reviews. Even though people spent more money, they're happier with the service they got.
There we go. They were on total alignment.
That's the championship.
That's exactly the championship. And that's really what we're aiming to do. But Joe, I want to say something here. There's one big difference. I don't know if you'll be able to guess this or not. I have a feeling you might be able to. But there's one big difference that sales and sports teams have that prevents sales teams from operating just as successfully as some of the best sports teams of all time. What do you think that thing is that they're missing?
Well, as I said before, in the history of service management, you weren't able to see the field of play. Does that make sense?
That's
You-
absolutely
You're
right.
you're trusting and you're the seduction of potential that hey, he had everything written down right, but it wasn't done the right way. That's the thing. You
Absolutely.
can't see what was happening.
Absolutely. And what do you know it? Visibility. You got a guy here on a blindfold, and that's really what it feels like, I would imagine, to be able to run your sales team without any
Mm.
idea of what's actually going on.
It's frustrating. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It's painful.
So let's take this a step further, Joe. What's your, just by chance, what's your favorite sports team? And we can talk football if you want, of any time period.
Well, in football, I am a Chicago Bears fan, which is not my favorite team right now, but in history,
Yeah.
my favorite team that bothers me is the Chicago Bears. The
Okay.
one that I love watching the most back in a few years ago is New England Patriots.
Oh, the New England Patriots.
Five Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
I just love the era of excellence. You may not like Tom
Yeah.
Brady or Bill Belichick, but you had to admire the repetitive excellence of that organization.
Absolutely. And what do you know? I'm actually going to be in the same team as you today. And so, what I want to do is I want to paint you a picture of if we were to tell Bill Belichick at the Patriots that he could run his sports team very similar to how a sales team is run today, with the same limitations and advantages that we have.
Hmm.
This is what this would look like. I would tell Bill that, hey, Bill, I'm going to allow you to coach your guys in the locker room in the off season before the games actually start. And that's very similar to how managers are able to have those Monday morning appointments before the week's appointments are really getting started with
Mhm.
their team. I'm also going to allow Bill to be able to see the score at the end of the game. So you can see who won and who lost. That's
Mm.
very similar to how in ServiceTitan you can see closed won, closed lost, average ticket, you name it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm going to say, Bill, if you were to run your team like sales organizations are now, without Rilla, without Service MVP, you're not going to be able to be there on the field when the actual team is playing their game.
Mm.
That means you can't tune in on the radio, you can't watch it on TV. You are essentially barred from helping your teammates, your contractors, when they're actually talking to homeowners, when they're in the field.
Wow, how frustrating. I mean,
Frustrating.
it'd be like having a meeting in the locker room before the game and saying, "Here's how you block, tackle, and run the plays," and then you got to stay in the locker room. You can't go out in the field and watch.
Exactly right. And how disappointing is that?
It's impossible. I
It's
don't know how it
impossible.
can't. It's
Yeah.
like it makes you. It gives you a lot of empathy if Bill Belichick had to do that. But thank goodness the Patriots had enough resources where they could have the state of the art equipment and things like
Yeah.
that, iPads and everything they could use to
Oh man, yeah.
monitor it. Yeah.
Game film, iPads, those are important, right?
And of course, Bill Belichick himself on the sidelines has a certain presence. And not only is it the technology,
Yeah.
but it's the presence of the coach on the field that kind of helps keep the standard high. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. And in addition to Bill not being on the team and not being on the actual turf when the game's being
Yeah.
done, you mentioned something earlier interesting, iPads and analytics, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the way that sales teams operate today is for the players themselves, there's no ability to see this game film, that analytics
Mm.
that we so heavily rely on to make sure we know what's working between first and second down. Now, Joe, if I took away the analytics and I took away the coach for the actual appointments, do you think the Patriots would have been as successful as they were?
They'd be just like any other team. They didn't because I think that's what makes a team like the Patriots or other teams that are winning teams that work all the time
Yeah.
throughout history is the communication between the team and the coach and really the organization. It's from the top. They always say the fish stinks from the head down.
Yeah.
So when things are created at the top of the organization, coach is able to implement that strategy and communicate with the team, and the team can communicate back what's working, what's not working. I think
Absolutely.
that's what makes us get better. Everybody makes mistakes, and we do have an element of things we do wrong because we're humans. But I think finding those things, running for the conflict and finding the conflict, and scouting ourselves before we keep making that mistake again. That's what creates a championship, I believe.
Absolutely. You're right on the money there. And, hey, it's not to say that we don't do things to prepare, right? We do objection handling, we do role playing, we do a lot of things to help coach and train, but that actual presence on the field and those analytics that we have for the appointment are not really visible right now in the industry.
Hmm.
Uh, but what I want to share with you is a way that Real has developed to actually bridge that gap. And it's a three-step process. The first step is that your team, your contractors, are going to be able to talk to customers just like they normally do. The second step is that our mobile app is going to record that conversation just via an app on their phone or on their tablet. And our engineering team and our AI algorithm is going to go in and we're going to be able to transcribe and analyze that audio for them to be able to, in essence, see the actual game. And that is the way that Rilla works at a high level.
And I think the way that when you show what Arnav is going to show you in a few seconds here is how it shows that to you is the key. I mean, number 3 and number 4, where you are analyzing the data and things like that, that I think, although it was just a sentence we said there, when you see it come to life, that's where you get that holy cow moment. Like, oh my goodness, I didn't know it could do that. I thought it was just something I thought I'd have to go through all these transcripts or whatever. I thought to spend all my time doing that. But Arnav is going to show you through the magic of Zoom and technology to share his screen here. We're taking a chance to see if it works. And
so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share with you guys my screen, and what we'll be able to do is I want to give everyone here on the call an inside look as to what Rilla actually looks like when you are logging into the platform and being able to see what is going on when your technicians are in the home. So,
all right, are we sharing the screen yet? It is up. Okay, the screen is up.
All right, perfect. So can you guys all see the conversations tab here? All right. So what we have here is we have a live look to see what the conversations tab at Rilla looks like. And so at high level, what you'll be able to see, and Joe, I can put this right here for you so we can maybe take a look, is we have over almost 2,500, actually exactly 2,699 conversations that are run by a company, one of our favorite companies, Guaranteed Services.
A client that we both share.
A client that we both share and we love. So Helmy, thank you. I know you're watching as well. We always appreciate you and the team. What we have here is we have a number of conversations that are done and recorded by their talented technicians. Now, what's special about our partnership, Joe, with Service MVP and Rilla is not only could I do a deep dive into these conversations, but even before I were to go in there, I could take a look at these analytics and I could actually see that when it comes to the actual script that they are trained and coached on, I can see at a very high level what exactly their team is doing and how well and where they could use improvement on these steps.
Wow.
So for example, I see that everyone on the team is doing an on-site arrival. That's step 99% of the time.
Wow. So that's really good.
That's really
good.
The
first part, they got off to a good start. And that's really a great part to create momentum on a call, right? Which is to get the beginning right. So if you get the beginning right, there's a halo effect that's established by the people at Guaranteed Services.
Actually, absolutely. And so we know that across all these 571 conversations, they've been able to hit that step every single time.
And every time the client thinks, oh, good, I got a good technician at my house.
Exactly.
So we're off to a good start. And just like in any game, in football, if you score first, or in baseball, if you score first, you tend to win the game more often.
Absolutely.
So,
Now, we can also see on the inverse that when it comes to, let's say, for example, connecting and finding the code, there's a kind of a range here that you can see. And as a manager, you can immediately tell who of the team is able to follow that connecting and finding the code step really well versus who might need a little bit more help.
Got that.
And what it does for the team is it allows us to bridge the gap between that learning and coaching that you have at Service MVP when you go through the program and the actual execution in the field for these appointments.
So instead, let me get this right. So instead of just focusing on 2 or 3 technicians now, we're able to see the technicians instantly who need the most help with a particular part of the program that we're working on.
Exactly right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so what happens at that point? What happens from there?
So what happens from that point is not only can you see it from a very high level when it comes to the entire company, but obviously as a manager and as a coach, you want to be able to take that insight and make it actionable. Right.
Yeah.
Make sure that they can learn and grow from that.
Exactly. That's what a coach does.
Exactly. So if I were to go into a conversation and I can just pick one at random here, right? And I go into this conversation, I can see that in this conversation, we have 9 out of the 12 steps in the maintenance call that were satisfied.
Okay.
Right. And so for this particular rep, Josh, he did a fantastic job. It was almost a 2-hour appointment. And like you mentioned, you might be thinking, well, I maybe have to listen to this entire 2-hour appointment to get an understanding of how to coach.
Yeah.
That's not the case. In addition to the actual script that we see, where you can see out of the 12 steps, you hit 9. You can also use our buddy here, Rick. And Rick AI, as you're familiar with, is our AI assistant. Think of it as your own personal sales assistant that's going to help you to identify areas in which you could give feedback. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these canned answers here, which is what can the rep do to improve? Now, when I click on that, our AI is going to scan this entire 2 hour long call, and it's going to give you custom feedback on where we think that Josh could have done a better job in this appointment. And what you'll
Can I stop you
notice,
there?
yeah,
There's two things I'm seeing there. Pre-done questions that a coach asks repetitively can be loaded in there, so you don't have to remember all these
that's right.
questions. Just think about the brain drain that you have as a coach, trying to remember what's the best question I could ask this person. Well, those best questions are listed right there for you to remember what they are. You
Mhm.
could ask that question, and it provides the information instantly of the call transcript. Okay, that
Absolutely
drills
right.
down on that call transcript.
Absolutely. And as Joe mentioned, we can see right here that you have a prompt library where you can actually add in your own personal questions in addition to asking literally any question you'd like on the spot
Mhm.
to save you that time and that efficiency. Now, what you'll notice is that Rick has given us an answer here of where Josh can improve. And what's really amazing here, Joe, is that we see that all the advice and feedback that's being given is actually in tandem service MVP process.
Nice.
So convince me and maintenance, danger lines part one and part two, good news and bad news, building interest and desires, and so forth. These are all areas of feedback. Now, for example, if I wanted to share this service feedback for the danger lines part two, all I need to do is click on this number 3 button right here.
Mhm.
It'll take me into this point of the conversation,
Yeah.
and I can copy this part right here, and I can go to the transcript. I hit enter, I paste it in, and boom, just like that, Josh now just has an alert on his phone where he's gotten that feedback about the service MVP process. I've been able to give him that feedback, and we are good to go.
Now, are there other delivery methods? You got text as one way, and what else can you do?
That's a fantastic question. So there's two other ways that I'd love to show you. The first is what's called a voice comment, and that allows me to actually leave an audio clip that sends it. Now, of course, we're on a webinar right now,
Yeah,
right? So it
can
may
do
not
it.
be the
Yeah.
best, but you can do a voice comment. You can also do a movie comment. That's going to
Mm.
allow you to share your face and your voice.
So
What do you think of
you
that?
can have the coach's personal face on a small video, short 10-second video, saying, "Great job on this, but I'd just like to see you improve this part of it." And of course, it would use the most. I say, here's the best part, guys. There's two things about a coach. There's the things that we wish we would have said, and there's the things we say.
Right.
This will give you the thing you should say that's been designed by both Service MVP and Rilla to inspire your team and get them motivated to get to the next call and want to do another call,
Right.
as opposed to keep failing over and over again. I really believe at the end of the day, when we're like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and people are winding it down, the reason they're winding it down is because they're not motivated to get to the next thing. They're ready to wrap it up. But if they had something to improve on,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to wait to try it on the next call. So at 4 o'clock when they're going on the next call or 3:30, they're going to be like, "I'm excited to get here." So imagine your team. That's the phenomena we found with Rilla and Service MVP together. Is that at the end of the day, the technicians are excited to go on the next call and excited to begin the next day,
Absolutely.
not defeated because they had a bad day yesterday. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes total sense. And so that's a high level of how Rilla works. I'm going to hand this back over to you,
Wow,
Joe.
that is a lot there. And
Yeah.
so to show everybody here what we were trying to do, I'm also going to go ahead and tell you here's this. So here's what Service MVP call by call coaching powered by Rilla does. You know, remember, this is something we now have wired into Service MVP. Every person who's in Service MVP will be everybody in the team will be monitored. At least one person on your team per day will be monitored by on the lessons that we teach them while they're taking lessons. So by doing it, what we found is that the average Rilla and Service MVP client will grow by about 278% revenue, as well as having happy customers. And how about you? What's the second part that Rilla can do as well there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing that Real and Service MVP can do together is they can really increase the quality of the communication that you have as a manager with your team. So not only do you have to save, they can you save your own time not doing ride-alongs, but you can leave them various types of comments. You can leverage AI to be able to analyze exactly what kind of feedback you want to communicate with them, and you can establish as many touch points as you want from the comfort of your office or
Mm.
wherever you'd like to be and give them that feedback without compromising on the time that it takes to actually meet with them.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is a coaching from home position, but it's
Yeah,
coaching from wherever you're at.
absolutely.
You could be it could be anywhere doing this and easily sending these messages to your team,
Yeah,
video, audio, or text. Thirdly, it turns small jobs into big ones because how many times service managers have you said, yeah, we should have offered a replacement on that. You should have turned that job over to
Yeah.
a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Now the coach can see that in real time during the mid-call monitoring and the post-call monitoring to say, hey, let's go ahead and turn that one over to a salesperson right now. So we at the end of the call, we can see there's still an opportunity. Even if we did the repair, we can always say, hey, we can trade the repair toward the replacement. And finally, if you don't mind, Arnav.
Yeah, and last but not least, virtual ride-alongs with Rilla. And for the customers that are on the call right now that have already had a lot of experience with the ride-alongs motion, you guys are very familiar with this. But you have the ability, instead of doing physical ride-alongs on the weekends or wherever you are, to coach, like Joe mentioned, from anywhere. And so we have the ability for you to be sent custom handpicked conversations from the people that you want to be coaching the most, whether it be lower performers, or maybe it's top performers, or maybe it's a certain step like the convince me step in the service MVP process that you want to dial in on. We have the ability to take that input and generate these calls sent to you every single day, every morning for you to complete in just 3 to 5 minutes per call to be able to complete that ride along completely virtually.
So everything that's in this 430-page book is loaded into Rilla
That's
so
right.
they can see instantly. And Rick is able to identify the things here versus how your technician's performing.
That's
It's
right.
really a perfect fit for everybody. That's what I really am. I'm proud to be associated with Rilla and proud to be associated
Likewise.
with ServiceTitan and to make this really the perfect solution.
Likewise.
Listen, and you might even say, there's other AI solutions too. We could have gotten involved with those too. But listen, uh, and we're happy. Like we have, what's the one that the Service Titans is using now?
Sales Pro.
Yeah, I mean that's great.
Yeah.
If that's the least you can do to enact this on your own, that we hope this webinar helps you use Sales Pro better. So we're not saying Sales Pro is bad. However, we will say that as you know, Service Titan service and Service Pro service, nobody can identify or surpass the service that both Service MP and Rilla will provide. And so the service is the difference, I feel, about what we're offering here. And I feel like I'm happy if people have any program they have to succeed, and we don't wish anybody there's no bad feelings for anybody. We just want to make sure that people get the best service. That's the only thing I can guarantee with my partners, that we are going to get that best service for that
Absolutely.
standpoint. As a matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and bring you over to one of our clients right now. We're going to bring in some special surprise guests here. If you don't mind, if we can bring this in and get that next slide going here. It would be on our next thing. We got Brian McDermott, who is going to be from ProStar Plumbing in Calgary, Alberta. Brian is a Nexstar member. He is a Service MVP member. He is a Rilla member. He only joins things that are things that make money and get results. And if you know Brian, he is a no BS kind of guy. And I'm just happy I'm on his good side.
Yeah.
As I can imagine, if I wasn't, how loud of a voice he would speak with if that were to be the case, right?
Absolutely.
Go ahead and talk about it. Brian, are you there? Can you join us?
Yeah, no problem. So for me, Rilla has been an absolute game changer for me and my technicians. It's given me the ability to basically bring a guy on with little to no sales experience and get him quickly out in the field making money and providing a level of service for a client that I didn't think was possible without being able to have Rilla and Service MVP. So the coaching tool for us being able to review the call, scrape the call, coach the guys, listen to figure out really what they're struggling with, they're weak at, and then being able to coach them call by call is really helping us and our clients basically provide the best service possible.
Brian, can you tell us some of the actual financial results? Has this paid for itself? I mean, both Rilla and Service MVP are an extra investment in the service you provide. How has that service been paid back to you and your company at ProStar?
Well, year to date so far, once the year's over, I think we're going to be up about 998% in total revenue over last year. So we've seen about $100,000 increase every month since signing up with Rilla and Service MVP. So not only with Rilla being able to, like I said, listen to the calls and zoom in on kind of where we were weak with presenting stuff, but it's also being able to package all the verbiage correctly with Service MVP. So making sure that we're explaining the solution. We're not just giving a band-aid. We're giving those 6 options, but in the customer findings and the summary, we're really deep diving to making sure that we have, the name of the client, the impact of the client, what they need, possible solutions to take care of comfort a little bit more. And just by offering that, we've seen just a massive increase in revenue.
Can you tell us, one of the biggest criticisms of Service MVP has always been it's so complicated that you're only going to get about 20% of your people to actually do that program 100% the best way possible. How has Rilla helped implement ServiceTitan or Service MVP the best? What the marriage of those two tools? What impact does Rilla have on this whole process?
Well, it's a huge impact because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which training tool you're using. You're really fine tuning and figuring out that the guys that aren't going to use whatever sales platform aren't going to use this platform. So it basically opened my eyes and showed our team that it doesn't come down to, oh, this process is hard to use, this one's harder to use. It came down to we're the guys actually following the process. And what we found is when they followed Service MVP's process, their close rate went up to, the drain techs were 85%, 90%. The comfort advisors, they're closing at 75 to 80%. So it gave us the ability to really look in and figure out, like, if they're following the process, and now we can listen to them through Rilla to make sure they're doing it, all of a sudden the transition for us skyrocketing really took off. So it's very important that they, you review the call to make sure that they are doing the process.
Well, I want to say thank you to you, Brian, because not only is it important to have the right tools, but you are instrumental as a leader in implementing. Because I tell you one thing, Arnav, Brian McDermott, every time he sends technicians down here to California to get trained on this process, he is here every single time with them, leading the way. And same with back at his office. He is a true leader because he's doing it with his team, not just throwing it at his team. Does that make sense? Brian, thanks so much for the service you provide your team and the service that you're providing all the contractors here listening to this webinar. It's really inspirational, and you may not realize the reverberations of the comments you're making. So I want to say thank you for weighing in to give people that aspiration and hope.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy your day.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to Steve Contractors, which is next on my phone there. You want
We
to?
can give him a quick call.
I got it over here too. You want to try it again? Here we
Yeah,
go.
he's
He's next
got
on my
some
list
there.
right there. Steve is going to join us from
Yeah.
Guaranteed Home Services. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Hey, Joe.
Hey,
Arnav.
how you doing, Steven?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. Appreciate you hopping on, and appreciate the ability to work with us on the phone call here while we're fixing out that issue. But look, thank you so much for taking the time. I wanted to talk to you and give you a quick question here. I know that you've had the benefit of being able to experience and be one of the first companies that's experienced both Service MVP and Rilla in tandem. And so would love to just know and hear some thoughts from you on how that experience has been so far when you think about both the training and coaching aspect from the coaches here at Service MVP and the analytics and additional things from Rilla.
Yeah, definitely. Arnav, so to take you a little bit through how we kind of ended up here, I came directly off out of the field. We did about a year going through Service MVP before we came on with Rilla, and then my owner family, told me, about this new 4x4 coaching, and then we got linked up with Rilla and with Joe to set up this coaching. And my biggest thing, what it is we take what we call junior techs. And junior techs are former installers, early in their career service techs.
Yeah.
And we move them into service so they can get into more customer facing and sales. At that point, what we're doing is basically taking a experienced technician to lead the team. And with Rilla and with Service MVP, we're able to kind of put the experienced technician as a pseudo ride along and basically in with every single one of the junior technicians at every appointment.
Gotcha.
So what we've seen specifically with Rilla is the accountability has gone up, right? We're able to increase the consistency across the board for every single of our service techs across the team and give all of our customers that guaranteed service and Service MVP, real world-class customer service that we provide for all of our customers. The coaching side,
what it helps us with is specifically on one-on-one coaching that we do once a week with each one of our technicians. We go into ServiceTitan, but obviously what we've spoken about with Joe is we're not married to the results, right?
Right.
So we see the results, and then we go into Rilla to actually show them what those numbers actually mean, right? If we see a downtick in the numbers in ServiceTitan, we're able to use Rilla and use those macro analytics per technician to identify what is the actual problem, what are the weaknesses, and what are the strengths that we can help coaching on, and then we can pick them back up out of that rut.
Gotcha.
May I ask a question, Stephen?
Yeah, of course, Joe.
Stephen, how has this helped the senior techs expand that knowledge that they have to the other tech? What has been how has this affected the culture of the company in terms of how those older techs now feel about this process?
Yeah, question, Joe. So one of the great things about Rilla is it's almost gamified, right? We have a constant group chat going through with each one of our departments. And, once we get that 12 out of 12, that 9, 10 out of 12 green plus a sale, it kind of increases the morale of the entire team where we're each trying to, now we're competing between each other and then picking each other up to see how did you handle that objection? Hey, how did you knock out that convincing step, right? And it increases the communication between our technicians and focuses our conversation to make each other better.
Gotcha.
Stephen, has it made a difference financially, would you say? What can you, as a percentage that you would say it has helped the company with both solutions?
Absolutely. So we've seen almost 100% uptick since September when we rolled out Rilla with service MVP and coaching. And that is just between our HVAC and plumbing divisions. We're currently on the road to a electrical division. And at that point, then, we're looking to sky's the limit.
Love it.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for the service you provide. I mean, remember the day we met, that week we met when you were here doing the call-by-call management training with you and Joe Rivera, two of the superstars of the service contracting industry. And definitely, I knew I was going to make a good client, but I didn't know I was going to make a great friend like I did with you, Steve. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, Joe. I'm hoping to shoot some hoops with you soon.
We will. We'll shoot some hoops at the office here for sure.
See you later.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Well, I guess the next step is what kind of action can people take? So the next step is on you, the contractor. We've given you some great tools here.
Yep.
Now it's your chance to use those tools. And we have some super great surprises for people here to be able to use it to be able to get you to use it first so that you can use it and then be able to see the results it's going to get and then keep it permanently. So it's kind of like what they call the puppy dog close, where we give you the puppy dog and you love it, and then you want to keep it. And then, of course, when you get a puppy dog, you got to get him the food, you got to get him the collar, you got to get him the blanket, you got to
all the
get
bells and whistles.
all the things you got to get with it.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we're hoping that you buy with the puppy dog. So the puppy dog is going to be really affordable. It's a matter of whether you want to continue your level of success. So number one, when you take the next step, there's a QR code, or you can call our office if you prefer a phone call, if you're a direct line to talk to somebody before you do this. But the QR code will take you to a questionnaire, which will ask you, are you a service MVP client? Because if you are, all clients, if you have Rilla, we will use Rilla in service MVP training. And if you don't have Rilla, service MVP will give you one technician or one person in our training sessions to be able to use Rilla at no charge for the 30 days you go through that training.
That's right.
And then I'll let Arnav talk about the second part of it. So if you're a Rilla client, obviously you can use it as you're using it now.
Yeah.
But Service MVP is offering a great bonus too.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to what Joe mentioned, if you're a Rilla client and you're excited about the call-by-call coaching aspect, you have the ability to actually sign up for Service MVP's total immersion class as well. And we are going to be able to give you
you get one free ticket valued at $2,497. If you're a Rilla client, we'll put you through that 3-week training course. One ticket for one attendee. We'll go through the 3-week training course online and graduate in week 4. And let's see if we can get 100%. Both Brian said it was 198%. What did he say?
He said something even higher than that.
Higher than that, but we'll say 198, and one person has 100%. let's see how close we can come to the 100% or 198% increase that both Brian and Steven talked about there. So we're going to give one ticket to every Rilla client who is not a Service MVP client to experience Service MVP with Rilla, so you can see the best practice there. And then the third choice is that you're not part of it. I say you're a lost contractor and you don't have Service MVP or Rilla yet. But I'm going to put it this way. I always said all roads lead to Uncle Joe. Well, I'm going to change that. It's actually all roads lead to Service MVP and Rilla together.
That's right.
Because this is the future of service. And there's going to come a day, just like when you have ServiceTitan, that everybody pretty much uses it, and it'll be part of it. So you're either going to be on the forefront leading this, so your team is at the best level, or you're going to be somebody who's left behind. So I don't want to see you lose out on this offer. We want you to try it at a little low, to beta test it, to make sure that you can make it work with your team and your culture.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, Arnav, that about wraps up this webinar. Now we have a element for Q&A. I'm not sure if we have any people who are still with us at all, but if we do, now is the time when we can do some questions and answers and things like that. So you'll have to have somebody read them to me, because my eyes cannot carry that distance. Maybe I can. He did just blow it up on here. What does it say up there, Arnav, to make sure you get
so we got one from Nathan here that says, half of my team was good with Immersion, Rilla, and ServiceTitan. How do I get the rest to buy in to improve their outcomes? What do you think about that?
I think to do that, you have to assign them one at a time. So this is called enrollment. So what I'm talking about here, Nathan, is that you as a leader have to enroll your team individually, not as a group. Because the group, it's easy when the group gets together and says no to something, or part of the group says we're not going to do this. But when you ask an individual person, Arnav, if I said to you, Arnav, you're a major part of the Service MVP and Rilla team, and matter of fact, we count on you to help our coaches with Rilla to make sure they give them the best practices. Now I'm going to ask you to do something for me, to take some training with Service MVP. Do I have your support on this, Arnav?
Absolutely, Joe.
So why would he say no to that?
There's
right?
no reason not.
It's like I'm telling him he's a key, integral part of the company, which he is. And I'm very sure that if Arnav said, Joe, we want you, you're a key part of Rilla, we want you to take some training on Rilla, I'd be like, where do I go? What do I do? I'd be, yes, I would support that, right?
Absolutely.
So the key words are, Nathan, do I have your support when you ask your team? Don't ask them as a group, ask them individually. Make sense? What's the next? We have another one here.
We've got one from
what if we don't use ServiceTitan? That's a good one. Well, as long as you have a cloud-based software, you can still use it. Rilla does work and has an API with tons of other softwares, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So we connect with a lot more different CRMs than just ServiceTitan. So if you don't use ServiceTitan, not to worry at all. There's a high likelihood that we will be able to work with you as well. And we should be good to go. And I see another question here that says, are you going to do more of a deep dive into using Rilla? We're already clients and we want to learn some more advanced things. And so for that, I would say, Ariel and Chris, more than happy to spend some time with you and connect you with someone on our team to do some more in-depth coaching and training.
And I think Service MVP can do that too, because our coaches are using that routinely, hundreds of times a day. Our coaches are coaching people on that and using the advanced techniques. But I think it starts with this, to go back to that again, this is a roofing contractor, which is to accept a system that you're going to use. You got to put those benchmarks in there, those trackers in there, so that you can then see instantly how people could get that. But really the instant feedback. And then I think an advanced thing is to make sure that the coach is actually taking action to talk to the technician or the salesperson before their next opportunity, to remind them of what they should be doing in the next call.
That's right.
Aaron has a question. What's that say there?
Yeah, we got another one. It says, does Rick AI provide feedback directly to the technician? Will it speak to them, or is that still up to the coach? And I think, Aaron, that's a great question. Like we mentioned earlier, Rick AI is really to be a sales assistant for you as a coach. And so our goal is not to replace you as a coach. Our goal is to make it really easy for you to coach your team. And so that is by design, that we want to have Rick AI be able to be in your back pocket, but still keep the onus on you as a manager to be able to give that feedback to the sales rep and maintain that connection and maintain that mentorship and leadership that you do have in the organization.
And I want to add something to that too, though. Just like the coaches can watch the play as it's happening and then give feedback, the players can watch the play too. If you're a football team, all the players get together the next day for a film session to watch what they missed or what they could have done better, right? So I think it's a tool that primarily is for coaches, but I would make sure that the service people and the sales people again have access so they can coach themselves. That's the unintended consequence that I've seen. Are people Here's what I've seen in our call by call training when we have like a one coach who is with 5 or 6 service people, and here what we experience is the service people come back to the coach and say, yeah, look at what I did on that call. Take a look at the magic moment I did. Take a look at the way I handled the objection. Like they're already scouting themselves before they get to the coach.
Yeah.
So in a way, it makes coaching easier because your team, in a way, has seen the problem and coached themselves before they get to the coach. So now that's what makes it scalable, actually, right?
Yeah.
The second question, we have another question, which is what time are the service MVP training classes? Well, obviously, if you come to a live class here in Culver City, California, it's all day for 5 days straight. It's called total immersion. But the online aspect of it is for any time zone. We have 2 training classes, one that starts at 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and we have one that starts at 8:30 to 10. So we have 2 different things for each time zone available for everybody in the company, both not just for the field staff, but we also do office staff and leadership training, which is yet to come on Rilla, but it will be coming. I'm very confident because we already kind of pushing Rilla to see if they can develop the other solutions to imagine this. The coach being coached by Rilla too someday, listening to what you're saying and how you're interacting with people. Imagine talking to an employee in your office, turning on Rilla. That's the future of the future. I think that's something that is coming in the future here, right?
Absolutely.
So some really good questions there, everybody. Again, don't forget to sign up. You had that QR code. What should I do if I want to improve my business right now? Well, number one, I would make sure you adopt a process. Of course, we would invite you to try the service MVP process for free. We would let you come on go on that QR code, book an appointment, and we would even give you free lessons. Or if you want a free book, even, I'd be happy to give you an Audible book or a paper book for free. It costs $25.99 on Amazon, this book. But because of this webinar, Rilla so generously has arranged to provide free books for everybody in this webinar. They've invested in all of you contractors.
There we go.
They have we have up to 100 books available that Rilla has pre-purchased for this event.
Right.
So anybody who wants to get it, we have 100 free books available and 100 free audibles available. Tell me which one you want to do, and we'll provide that for free. Just sign up that form and say free book when you book your appointment for either Rilla, you book your appointment with Service MVP. You're going to get a free book as a bonus, whether it's Audible or paper book. We're happy to give that to all of you because that's something that number one is something we're going to do for free to get you a process to get started with. Number two, I think once you get the process, load it into Rilla and watch your team virtually using the ride along feature and give your team instant success. If you just did that only, that would be a way to increase the sales. You would see the increase that would make this investment, which it is a more of an investment than not doing anything. But let me just say something, guys. If you don't invest in your team, then your team is going to be unattended.
Yeah.
What does an unattended team do to a culture, Arnav?
Yeah, it just breaks down the culture gradually over time. When you have only a subsect of people on the team that are getting paid attention to, the rest of the members of the team, they tend to just disengage. And before you know it, you've got a lot of fragmentation. And so we want to make sure that you can pay attention to every single person on your team with the same amount of time and with the same quality of care that you would before you got onto a software like Rilla and like ServiceTitan.
Well, I always say, as a good meeting starts on time and a great one ends on time, it's impossible to make it a great one because we ended a little bit later.
Yeah,
but I will say it was still a great meeting because I had one of my best friends in a history of friends, Arnav, with me, and all of you joining us here too. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as both Arnav and I said. Arnav, you have any final words you want to say?
Thank you again, Joe, and the rest of the team for having me on the webinar.
Thank you
been
again,
great-
everybody.
great time.
We'll see you on the next webinar. Hopefully you can call us. You can be one of those success stories and weigh in to tell us how much more money you made and how many 5-star reviews you got because you adopted this program. Thank you so much. Take action now, guys, because if you don't, you only thing you're going to have is regret, and you don't want to live with that. That's for people who are weak, who do not take action on their success. So take action now. We will make sure that the barrier is impossibly low to get involved with both programs. We want to make sure that you're trying this to make sure if you try it, you're going to want to keep it. And that's how we do it. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you
Thank
on the
you,
next
guys.
one.
Alrighty.
We make you the MVP.